Good morning, everybody. I'm just waiting for Nina to come on. Nina, if you're there, just add a comment so that I can add you this morning, okay? I always get a little nervous with this technology. Nina told me she was all prepared. What a remarkable woman she is, despite having two little boys that keep her very, very busy. Okay. I'm going to invite you right now, Nina. Yay, hang on. Okay, keep our fingers crossed here. See if this works. Yay! Good morning, my beautiful girl.
Thanks. I gotta figure out how to make this higher so it's not just like at chest level. Hold on. Let me get a book or something to put it on.
Yeah, and you know what? While you do that, because we are recording, and so while you're fiddling around with that, I'm just going to go and kind of walk around my house, because I know one of the things, Nina, you and I are going to be talking about is really how to incorporate natural elements. So just so while you're working that out, because we have about 5 minutes here, I'm just going to flip my phone around. Maybe I should.
You have to tell me really fast. I do have the boys watching a show, so can you hear it in the background?
Nope, I can't hear it at all. It's perfect.
Okay. Let me scoot this back.
Okay, if you, yeah. Oh, that's really good, Nina. Perfect angle. Okay, maybe I won't. I'm nervous to flip my phone around and mess this up. So let's just wait a few minutes here, and I'm gonna put my phone in the right position as well. Okay. Let's see.
One book higher.
I know. Okay. Yeah, I have to figure out how to still, for those of you that are going to join us, and hopefully we'll have some people. If not, we'll just keep this recording and people can watch it after the fact. But if you are with us, you can go ahead and just say hello, and that would just, it'd be nice to know who's actually there. So we'll get started here in just a few minutes. And Nina, I see your beautiful wreath hanging there behind you. Wow. Wow. Maybe afterwards we can walk up and get a close-up of that. So,
okay.
Yeah. You look beautiful.
Well, I don't usually put makeup on first thing in the morning.
I know. That's how I felt too. Get that lipstick on, huh? Kind of like we're good morning, America. How do you think?
Yeah. Oh man.
In our little world.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you had to bribe the boys to keep them quiet?
Well, they're actually being good, but you never know when the next.
Yeah. And that's okay. If they pop in, you know, we love to see their darling faces.
Yeah.
Hey, Nina, just, is that the, oh.
Okay. You want to say hi?
Hi, guys. Good morning. Oh, and my neighbor's car is honking there. What are they watching? Oh, we have a few people on there. It looks like Janie. Hi, Janie. Good morning. Oh, Janie just said, bring them on the camera. Well, we'll keep them quiet for now, right? We know what it's
Yeah.
like with boys. So
I'll
well,
show
I
it.
have pretty much 7:58, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, Suzanne. Welcome. Nina and I were just saying we feel like we're on Good Morning America. But let me, as we're getting started here in just a few minutes, I'm going to just make a few introductions and share a little bit just my thoughts in creating this Karen's Favorite beauty and health products. And at some point, I'll probably change that name because my idea is I'm friends with so many entrepreneurs, specifically women entrepreneurs, and I know that more and more women are looking just for a way to stay at home with their kids, to have a flexible lifestyle, but also to be able to contribute financially to their family, but do it in a way that honors them, honors their values. And so, of course, with it being Christmas time, by the way, this is my adorable niece, Nina Wiskus, and hopefully some of you were able to go check out her website. She is the mom of two, and of course I am biased, but they are the most adorable boys. Liam is 5 and Grayson is all of 2 and plus, right, Nina? He is our little adorable fireball. Their passions are Harry Potter, among many other things. But Nina is also pregnant with a girl. Yay! So any girl name suggestions, we are considering them sort of all at this point. But and Nina also resides in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. She is a California native, and through her husband's work, landed in Minneapolis. And so it's been just a delight to get to know that part of the country and all that it has to offer. And there's a part of me in hot Southern California that is jealous that they have snow on the ground. But she'll be jealous of me in about 5 months, right, Nina? But anyway, so Nina, tell us just a little bit about yourself and maybe how you got into the floral design business and kind of how you incorporate that into your life and how you've made that work for you as a very, very busy stay-at-home mommy, and not to mention she homeschools as well. So, Nina, just go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I always give credit to my Oma, who is Karen's mom, and her sister Haida, who lives in Germany. And I just started out as a little girl doing different things with them. It was really a culture of our family to always decorate seasonally, and I kind of liken it to the farm to table trend. We do forage to table, whatever's in season and around you. It's just a way to be present and help appreciate, just your natural surroundings. So at this time of year, I don't really have the luxury of foraging around here because everything is dead or but for the most part, I just grew up, across from this beautiful creek kind of nature preserve, and we would go picking. And as a little girl, I would climb the trees across the street and harvest mistletoe to sell to the neighbors at Christmas time. And Oma taught me how to make wreaths, which is kind of one of my favorite things to do. And then as I got to be a young woman in college, when I was of the demographic of young women, in their early 20s getting married, I would get asked to do flowers for weddings. And that was kind of how I started. I've always kept up like a corporate job. I do administrative work for a large home care company. But, I feel artistic, but I'm not like a fine artist like my mom or sister. So floral design and just decorating have kind of always been my passion. So as a young woman in my early 20s, I started my own floral business, and it grew to be pretty successful. At one point, I was doing like 20 events a year on top of my regular job. And now as a mom, I sort of keep it as my luxury job that I do for enjoyment. And now I've also gotten asked to teach some classes. So I did a corporate holiday workshop for some employees of cargo philanthropy. I was going to say philanthropy, it's philanthropy. And then I teach occasional classes at the Minnesota Landscape Arboretum.
Yeah. Wow. And if any of you ever go to have the privilege of going to Minneapolis, put that on your definite to-do list. It is just a treasure trove of visual delights, pretty much at all seasons. I know they even in the winter time, hang up beautiful lights, and I've been there, I think all seasons except for winter, and it is definitely a treat. And again, Nina, I just love how a couple things that you said about the importance that we as women, I think so often we neglect that creative side of us. We say, oh, I'm not a fine artist, I don't paint. I know your mom is an amazing clay artist. Maybe someday we'll have her on our little show here to kind of talk about how she's developed in that space. I know your sister is just a great painter, fine artist, creative. But I think really all of us are creatives. I know myself personally, I've started to write, and it's just so nourishing for the soul. But without further ado, just really quick question I want to just have you address, and then we'll go into just letting you take over and hopefully inspire everybody with to make a wreath out of natural elements that are native to your particular area. And I know I saw Suzanne Petrides on there. She's all the way out in Hawaii. So Nina, talk about why is there, and you mentioned foraging, which is such a cool trend. So talk to me a little bit about the trend of moving away from man-made things to really kind of being present in your particular space and benefiting from beautiful nature wherever you find yourself, and how you incorporate that not only into wreaths, but just, why is that so important to do that? Or what benefit is that versus taking, artificial things?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call myself like a naturalist, but I think I just gravitate towards that. I have a geologist for a father and an artist for a mother, and then a lot of, botanists, florists, gardeners in our family. So I think maybe personally my aesthetic, I'm just kind of drawn more to the natural world, but also just sort of on a deeper, more sort of spiritual level. I think, I love reading different authors like Mary Oliver, or I love that book Pilgrim at Tinker Creek. And just, I think actually foraging and being out in nature and collecting and creating and appreciating from the elements that are just present around you kind of connects you with those different like words and philosophies that really speak to me. So to me, this sounds sort of new agey, but it's more of like a whole experience rather than just about decorating.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And how do you teach your children that? Because I think that that's such a, you were talking about your heritage, which is obviously my heritage. And so I know you really incorporate your kids into that too. And I know hopefully we'll have some other, young moms on the watching this. So talk to me just a little bit about that. And then I really will let you get to your wreath making.
As I delve more into the homeschool philosophy, I really appreciate like a lot of writings by Charlotte Mason, and she talks a lot about nature study and just, I think even just like in our day and age, it takes effort to cultivate the practice of being present, and being out in nature is one way that you can do that. And so things I do with my kids is we just take a lot of walks, and I just try to be present in those times and put my phone away. Or of course, with little kids, you always want to be snapping pictures to remember things, but I try for the most part to be present and noticing things around me. And we look for bugs on the plants, or and I've just noticed how that has already kind of become a part of the way that they look at the world. Because when we're out, they just see things that are around them. You know, they'll notice a beehive, they'll notice bugs, you know. So I just think it's a practice of teaching presence and beauty appreciation of the natural world.
Yeah. All righty.
Yeah.
So without further ado, Nina, I'm going to let you just take over and share with us a little bit about how to make a wreath that is based in natural elements.
Okay. Well, when Karen asked me to do this, I just was trying to think of different ways that I sort of incorporate this throughout the year. And, you know, we collect a lot of nature treasures and stuff on our walks, and we do a lot of camping trips. And so, you know, what do you do with that stuff? I mean, sometimes it sits in a basket on our table, and, or.
Hey, guys.
That's okay. The show is transitioning, so they are. Do you need something, buddy? Okay. So I'm going to give you like a really quick, very simple tutorial on how I do this, just kind of in a simple way. And then you can see, like in my wreath making workshop, we make something like this, which is a pretty big size wreath. I was joking with Karen because now at Trader Joe's you can buy beautiful boxwood wreaths for $6. So it sometimes I will buy a green base like that and just add things to it, or even just keep it simple like that. I'm not opposed to buying things pre-made if they're nicely made. But for fun, usually what we'll do, and I had another example I was looking for, like on a camping trip, it was fall and there was all this beautiful dried grasses and berries and things all around. So the kids and I were picking things on our walk, and then I wanted to do something with it, and I didn't have wire or anything, so we used dental floss. Tie it around. But basically, I'll kind of show you the basic elements that I always have, which is in order to make a wreath or any kind of structure, you need a base. So for these,
Oh, Nina, you froze. Shoot. Are you getting a phone call or something? Oh, shoot, it was going so well. What happened? What happened? Add. Oh, no. Cancel. Okay, Nina, I think you need to add yourself again to the, there you are. Awesome. Okay, yay.
I'm
Okay.
on my phone, so I got a phone call. And
Yeah, that's what I figured. So, okay.
So you can do a couple different things for a base. You know, you can buy a wire base. You can buy a pre-made green base. I made a base out of grapevine, and all I did was bend it into a circular shape. And when I put up close, you can see I just wired it together right here. And that's going to get covered. I usually use green wire, so it's a little bit less conspicuous. And then I have clippers, and I use 24 gauge floral wire because it's pretty strong but also really bendable. And then I have, so the first element is you need a frame. And sometimes even when I've gone on walks and stuff, I'll just find a good stick, you know, like curly willow works great, or something that can be bent into a circular shape. Or I saw a really cool tutorial where they didn't even do it circular. They used like mossy sticks, and it was kind of more of like an octagon shape. So as long as it's, you know, some kind of hard form, you can work around. Anything works great. And I love using natural elements because then if part of it's exposed, I mean, this is really cute in itself, so you don't have to worry so much about covering it perfectly. And then I always sort of use, the next thing is I use base. So for this I'm using, and actually, again, I cheated this time because everything is dead or covered in snow and it's 8 degrees outside, so I wasn't going to go foraging this morning. But I use a lot of stuff that is native to California. So this is juniper, and this is pepperberry, And then this is actually something called a goddess, which I found it is native to Australia, but it's just kind of like you could use rosemary, you could use lots of different things, but I just like the texture of these three things, just texturally how they're kind of different. And that's what I'm going to use for my base. Oh, and actually I have some olive branch.
Oh, I love that.
These are just leftover things from my workshop. So those are kind of my base items. And then I have a couple accent things that I'm going to work in. This is thistle. And then this is also something you could get in California. These are those silver bell eucalyptus pods. And then I usually use something like a finishing touch. So you could do a little ribbon, or in this one, I dried some grapefruits and I just dry them, and I just slice them thin and dry them in the oven on 200 for 2 hours. You just put them on some wire racks. And for this one, I'm going to use this cute little wooden ornament thing that Oma gave me. And just to show you, like the other day, Liam wanted to do a project, so he made this.
Oh, so
this
cute.
Is yeah, and we just have it in the middle of the table around our Advent candle holder, but that's just made out of olive leaf. So the way you start is you take your wire and you take your frame that you've made, and you just have to anchor the wire somewhere. So I'm just going to wind it around, and I told my it's not going to come off. And then you're going to start, I call it making bundles. And see, everything I clipped to be about, I say 3 to 5 inches. It kind of depends on how big you want the wreath. If you want it to be a tighter wreath, cut it shorter and it'll stay closer to the base. And if you want it to kind of be a little more whimsical and freeform, just because I'm not going to wrap this whole thing on camera, I'm going to do this one half wrapped. So I'm going to do a little bit more whimsical. So then the next step is, once you have this anchored, I wish I could have the camera above me, but I'm just going to keep holding it up. But I always work with it laying flat on the table. And so I have my wire coming off of it, and this is flat, and the wire's anchored. And then I'm going to make little tufts. So you can either do all the same element, but I'm doing a couple different things. So I'm going to do a little olive leaf, a little juniper, and then a little bit of pepperberry. And all I do to separate this stuff is I just kind of pull it off the main branch. And I'm just, again, making little tufts. So here's my first tuft, if you can see that. And I'm going to lay it flat on the base, like that. And then I'm going to wrap the wire around twice. And I'm always pulling the wire very taut. Okay? And then this is the only kind of element you have to get correctly if you want it to look right, is that I'm going to make another little tuft. I'm going to do one of each thing again. And you don't want to go up. You're always going to work down, because then this is going to lay on top of the stems to cover it. So you're always covering kind of the ugly exposed part. So I'm going to lay this down here. And you're always staggering. So I'm going about 1 inch below where I did last time. And I'm going to follow it with the wire. And I'm going to wrap it twice.
Oh, that looks great already.
Okay, and then I'm going to do it again. And I'm only going to do this 3 times. And then I'm just going to show you how to add some accent pieces. So again, this is like always, I've never done an online tutorial, but I always see people struggling to do these things one-handed, and it's true. It's kind of hard. One-hand this. Okay, so then I'm going to go again. I'm going to go a little bit down. And again, this one is very whimsy and freeform, but if you wanted it really tight, you would just bundle it closer to and lay it like that. But I'm making mine very whimsical, and I usually alternate directions. So see how this piece I'm tilting out, and this and you could tilt it in, and I usually go out in, so it's kind of evenly covered on the inside and outside.
A great tip.
Yeah, and that's what's nice when you're working with it laying flat on the table. You can really, I always stand and work, and I stand above and I sort of look at like, oh, Okay, that space needs to be filled. I'm going to tilt it that way. So I'm going to go. I'm going to wrap it twice. And if you wanted to do a circular, all covered wreath, you would just go all the way around. And then at the end, you would, when you got, I'm not going to go this far, but just to tell you how to end it, when you get to this part at the end, you would lift these pieces up and put your last piece, tuck it in, and then wire that on securely. And the last section I usually wrap 5 times, and then I just cut it and tuck the wire somewhere in the back.
Okay.
So this one, just because I'm going to show you how to do something completed, that's sort of like asymmetrical. I'm going to wrap 5 times. I'm going to cut my wire. I'm going to tuck it in the back. And I'm just going to kind of hook it over. And nothing needs to be so perfect on the back side. So I just kind of have this fun wreath with a little bit. And now, why I always choose an accent, you have a couple options. You could wire these accents in throughout. But since I'm not going all the way in a circle, I'm going to use them to cover my base. And this is another part, is when you're adding in accents, you can either wire them in as you go, or you can create another little tuft. And I make, this is probably like a 10-inch wire. I wrap it around, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I left a tail on one end, and then I have a tail on the other end. So now I have a strongly wired thing with 2 wires coming off, and I can just lay it on, and I'm basically just tying a knot around the back, and I'm just going to twist it a few times. Let's see if I can use my twist it, tuck it, and I'm pulling pretty tight as I twist, because you don't want it to be loose and floppy, because this is pretty sturdy.
Love it.
And then you still have like a little bit of a bottom part showing. I'm going to put my cute little Christmas ornament on, which luckily had a little hole. And you could do a piece of ribbon which you tie around, or again, when I do ribbon, I do like a faux back to it. So I'll make a pretty bow out of ribbon, and then I'll wire it on the back and use the wire to attach it rather than wasting ribbon. Yeah?
I'm kind of hot now.
Okay, I'll come change it. 1 minute.
No.
Okay, let me finish this and then I'll come change it for you.
Can I put my orange juice?
Sure. Okay, so here I'm going to show you. I just wired that on. And so now I have this cute little...
Oh, beautiful. Wow. It's like, what else do you need, right?
Yeah, I mean, this was obviously very quick and messy. It's much easier to work with if it's laying flat.
Okay.
And the nice part is you can kind of go back in and trim things out. If there's stuff, if I don't like something, the direction something's sticking, I just kind of cut it off.
Uh-oh. Your time is limited, Nina. They've been awesome.
Fine, they're doing good. It's just the end of every show is going to be a transition. So that's kind of my quick. And then the nice thing is if I have little extra elements that you want to cover, little wired spots, you can just tuck them in.
Beautiful. Wow. Hey, and Nina, I know one thing that we talked about is we always think of wreaths as having to hang them up, but this is Advent, and so many of us have gotten away from that traditional Advent season, but Advent actually is the time, and for my Catholic friends out there, they know it's the time of preparation before. In fact, I remember growing up in a German household, we actually wouldn't even take the Christmas tree out until the evening of the 24th, because that's when the Christ child arrived. So I know that in your particular church, you celebrate Advent and you actually have a wreath on the table, right?
Yeah, we do like an Advent wreath that has candles on it, and we light one every week of Advent. So that's what I use. And I just do them all around the house, where I'll just do little swag pieces all around the house. But that's my extra from my wreath making class. So I put that on my door. I use this is my the little thing that Liam made. I have it on the table with a few little candles in it.
Oh, sweet. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of it. Quick and simple, and definitely there's a lot more you can do to it, but that's basically the circular wrapping method.
Awesome. Well, this has just been such a wonderful way to start the morning. I hope those of you that joined us live enjoyed it as much as I did. And, just a great refresher that there is just beauty all around us. It's so easy to make those little wreaths. We saw how simple Liam even did that with just the olive branches. And so look for the beauty around you, be present in the moment. Take advantage of this Advent season to prepare your hearts. In fact, I came across a really neat thing about the 4 Advent candles and what they represent that I'll be posting on this page for all of you maybe to enjoy, incorporate even for yourselves or your kids or your grandkids. And thank you so much for joining us. And Nina, I adore you. You know that. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. Give those boys a huge hug and kiss from me. They were just awesome participants. Love you.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.